everyone. Today we're diving into an important topic in Java called scope. Can anyone guess what scope might mean in programming? Okay, in simple terms, scope is all about what or where a variable can be accessed in your program. Think of it like a room in your house. What's inside the room stays there unless you bring them outside. In Java, scope helps us keep our variables organized and avoid messy situations where things get mixed up. First, let's talk about method scope. Have you ever borrowed a tool or an item just for one specific task? Once you're done, you don't need it anymore, right? That's how method scope works. When you decide or declare a variable inside the method, it's only available within that method. Let's look at an example. Here, the variable x is declared inside the main method. Before the line int x equals 100, the variable doesn't exist. It's like trying to use a tool before you've borrowed it. Once it's declared, we can use x anywhere in the method, but only within the method. Once the method ends, x is gone. It's like returning the tool after you're done. Now, let's move on to block scope. Imagine you're working on a small project inside a specific room. Everything you're using is only for that project and stays inside that room. And once you leave the room, those items don't matter anymore. In Java, a block is any piece of code wrapped in curly braces. Variables declared inside a block are only usable within that block. Let's break this down with an example. Here, the variable x exists only inside the block. Outside of those curly braces, x is off limits. If you try to use it outside the block, Java will throw an error saying, "What is x? I don't know that variable." So let's see how scope works in loops. Loops are a great example of block scope because they often create temporary variables that are used just for the loops. So here's an example with a for loop. So in this example, the variable I is declared in the loop. You can use I inside the loop, but as soon as your loop ends, I is gone. You cannot use it anymore. It's like having a temporary worker who only helps during the loop and lives when the job is done. Now, you might be wondering, why does all this scope stuff matter? Well, imagine you're in a big house with tools scattered everywhere. You might accidentally grab the wrong tool or trip over something. Scope helps us avoid those kinds of problems. And um, Scope is important because it avoids conflicts. You can have variables with the same name in different methods or blocks, and they won't interfere with each other. It can be used to organize code, and it keeps your variables limited to where they are needed, making your code more easier to understand. It's used for um, efficient memory use. Variables disappear when they're no longer needed. It frees up. It it's freeing up memory. So scope may seem tricky at first, but once you practice, it will really feel natural. Just remember that a variable live and die within their scope, like tools that are only meant for specific tasks. So keep practicing and it will all click soon.